Okay, after watching the tape, there was a number of things that we were really encouraged with. We improved in special teams. We continue to develop some young players there, which will be a big challenge this week. Kansas State has got a great return game, both punt return and kick return, and could very well be the best return in the country. So that'll be a big challenge for us. Offensively, we were able to identify where there was one guy, a breakdown here, a breakdown there, could have been a protection, could have been a route, could have been a throw. But for the most part, we had improvement. And then defensively, we got tired late, played a little bit of over and under coverage on number 11, tried to put a safety over him at times, made us a little deficient in run game, then missed tackles. They got big plays. So we hope that we've corrected those areas. From a depth standpoint, we're not able to correct those. We just kind of move forward. But playing a good team this week, I don't know that anybody really needs me to talk about Kansas State. I think everybody's familiar with their coaches and their team and kind of who they are. So I'll kind of move forward to questions.
Mike, Jordan Stearns, 20 tackles as a sophomore. I mean, you got to come away impressed with that performance. Right?
He played well. Too many tackles for a safety, and we're aware of that. He's playing a lot of plays in a game. He's over 70 plays in a game. He should be playing about 50. But he's playing very well, and he's playing physical. And he's a guy that we need to try to protect as much as possible, but he's making a number of plays for us in the game.
When you were born, Mike, Bill Snyder was a high school head coach. It was his first year as a head coach. Have you gotten to know him somewhat or fairly well?
Well, I don't think I can say I know him somewhat or fairly well. At conventions and Big 12 meetings, I visit and listen to him in the same room with a group of people. I don't really talk to other people in this profession very much, and I don't know that he hangs out a lot. But as I say each year, I have a lot of respect for him, and I think he's you can go back to what Barry Switzer said, only half of what he says you can believe, but this half I would, in that he's the coach of the century at one time. And so it's a challenge for me as a head coach and for our staff against them because it's interesting the game hasn't changed much for them. They have a plan on offense, they have a plan on special teams, they have a plan on defense, and that's what you get.
But, you know what goes into preparing for a game. 70 hours, 80 hours, whatever. Mm-hmm. You burn your eyes out watching tape and all the work that goes into it. He's still doing it at this level at 75.
Not at 75, I won't be.
Do you marvel at that, though, that he is?
Yes, sure do. He's obviously very disciplined and structured, and I'm somewhat speaking out of turn because I don't really know him personally. I know a lot of guys that have worked for him and have made comments, but there's not a lot of promises out there in the world, but one of them is you don't have to worry about me doing that at 75.
Mike, having Joe Bob on your staff now, has that given you even a little more insight into how they do things up there?
Robert, not really. When you turn the tape on, it's the same thing they've done for the most part since '89. So we could bring him in and talk to him, or we can just watch the tape and see. The schemes change a little bit based on personnel. He makes good decisions based on where he thinks his strengths are, but overall the philosophies are very similar in our opinion. Could be wrong.
Kevin Peterson says he hadn't lost 2 in a row since the 7th grade. Simmons hadn't lost 2 in a row in his life. You know what I mean? A lot of these guys have similar backgrounds like that. So how do they seem to collectively be handling this slump you're in right now?
Well, they're disappointed, which is the way that they should react. As a coach, we instill and tell them the truth of what's happened, why it's happened, how to improve it, how to make it better for the next week. Other than that, there's really not much to say. It's very simple. I've said this from day one. I said it years ago when we were standing here talking 6-1 or 7-0 that each week is different, and you can't get too high and you can't get too low because you have to play a game next Saturday. And that's just the life and the world we live in. And football is a great teaching tool for life. These guys need to understand. There will always be setbacks, and you really have to see how you're going to handle those setbacks, see what kind of person you are. Pat Jones used to always say everybody practiced hard when it was 72 and partly cloudy. I want to know who practices hard when it's 100 degrees and the sun's shining. that's really kind of an illustration of where we're at right now. But I'm not concerned with any of our players. And I said this after the game. I think people want me to be frustrated and bang this table and throw these recorders. But that's just not my approach, and that's not who we are. I will get disappointed if we don't give effort, we're not preparing as a coaching staff and working as a group. That would disappoint me. What happens is frustrating just from the standpoint that I want good things to happen for the players. And I've said that now for a couple weeks. But that's really how I feel. Tardy? If you're tardy, it goes under here.
All right, I appreciate it.
Can't hear as good.
Coach Gundy, what do you do on Saturday, or what did you do on Saturday after the loss?
Well, met with you guys, did radio. My kids played football out here. And then came in my locker room and sat there in the chair for a little bit and watched some game. I don't even remember who it was now. Somebody was playing. And I watched some of the game and then let them beat me up a little bit with questions and then went home.
So you didn't watch film or anything on Saturday night? Okay.
I'm not very good win or lose on a Saturday night. As a coach, the physical part of what we do is one aspect, but the mental part of a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, a game, for me, because I have to think a lot to try to say the right things, I'm usually done. And so I'm not as productive on a Saturday night.
Mike, this season, it's certainly not over. There's plenty left to accomplish, but it hasn't gone like you would probably like, especially here lately. How do you assure, I don't know, the recruiting class that's coming in, or a couple of recruiting classes? How do you assure maybe the fan base that maybe you guys can be next year's TCU breakout team? Maybe you guys are not going to have a sustained kind of a dip.
Well, I would just look at our history. Prior to this year, we won almost 50 games in 5 years and accomplished just about everything you could do other than win a national championship. And we had a setback last year where we had a certain publication that tried to bash us, and we found out it didn't affect us at all, and we found out that was untrue, and we survived that. The players the recruits that you're referring to, the guys that are interested in this school and want to come here, they do it for a variety of reasons. One of them is certainly to have success in the game they love to play, but the other is the environment, the university, the city, the community, everything else that goes around. And so those things really don't concern me at all, none whatsoever.
Is it hard to convince, like, the five-star guys maybe, or whoever, that
we never get those anyway, so we don't have to worry about that.
That's kind of where I'm going, is the success you've had has elevated you to the point that you're in on some of those guys, or you can be in on some of those guys.
We're not in on many of them. We never have been, but I'm not trying to beat your question down. I don't know how many five-star guys we've gotten. How many we got since I've been here? One. So not a lot of them. We go recruit them all, but even the 4 stars, in somebody's opinion, which doesn't always mean they're good players, but I'm just not concerned about the recruiting class. They're here for certain reasons. They understand. They know the direction we're going. It just doesn't concern me.
Next year, do you see an opportunity for you guys to be the breakout team in the Big 12?
Holy cow, you're already talking about next year.
Yeah.
I haven't even had summer baseball. I mean, we haven't even gone through anything else. I can't even begin to talk about next year.
You can't do it in one recruiting class, can you? I mean, it has to start with who you've got here, I would think.
What's that?
2015.
Well, we have good young players in our program now. They're all going to be a little better next year. I hope.
Developing, all that kind of stuff comes into
I hope.
it.
I mean, we've developed guys for a number of years around here, and there's not many Des Bryants, Michael Crabtrees in the world that come in and they're just ready to perform at a high level. Most players like Justin Blackman have to be developed, and we have young players in our program that will be developed. It just takes a little time.
What was your, even if you were confident that the outcome would be favorable, what was your reaction when you read Chuck Smart's report and you saw, before the public saw what the result was on the NCAA and OSU investigation.
I haven't read it. They don't let me read it. Yeah, just a synopsis, kind of like in college. You had that big book, you didn't want to read it, and you went and got the Cliff Notes. I mean, and that's really what it was. But see, they don't let me read those things, and Bill, they won't let me comment on it. I mean, they know better. I'm not trying to be a bad guy. They know better than to let me comment on it. They've already told me by people that are way above me, have told me from a year now, and they remind me 2 weeks ago. They don't want me saying a word. And they look me in the eye and say, you understand. Oh, no, it's awesome. I mean, they told me not to say a word. But I'm going to say this, okay, that it needs to be put behind us so everybody can move forward, yes. But I'm not allowed to comment on it because they don't want me to comment on it. So.
Coach, what can you say about how Ofa Howtown's developed?
Much better player this year than he was last year. More games, experience, developed in the weight room. Typical 2-year player. We got some quality work from him in the latter part of the season, and then now he's a more polished guy, understands the program, the work ethic, the demand for playing at this level, and is doing very well. Defensively, we got caught in some over and under and some bracket coverages, and I'm referring to him in the front seven, and we missed a couple tackles late that made the game look worse than what it was. And he's a key to that. Those guys have to continue to push hard and play and stay fresh and help out some of these backers that are playing a lot of plays. And his attitude's been great and his leadership's been good.
With the schedule you have ahead, and you can only play one team at a time, you don't have to play all 4 or 5 at once.
Right. You set me up to go ahead and answer your question anyway, so I wouldn't say I can only worry about Kansas State. It's awesome.
I've been around for a while.
Me too.
Yeah.
That's like A Few Good Men. Where he says, I'm quite sure I've earned it. Go ahead, though.
So my question, I guess,
but I'm
was,
Cruise and you're the bad guy. You're Nicholson. I'm Tom Cruise and you're the bad guy. So, okay, go ahead.
I want to be Kevin Bacon.
No, I'm with you on that.
Okay.
That's a good one, too.
Yeah. No. So you've got a very difficult schedule lying ahead. How do you, given the product that you've seen the last 3 games, or whatever it is, 4 games?
Well, 3 weeks ago, you guys brought it up, and I mentioned we're only going to be good enough to worry about the next game. But essentially, when you go back a couple weeks all the way through this schedule, you're playing either a top 20 team or a team that's got really, really good players that's developing and going through a change, period. Each week's going to be a real challenge for us.
There's no way to change what you do.
Yes.
Is there?
Follow the SEC's plan. Play 8 games and pick up one on game 9, 10, or 11. That's an easy win. Scheduling. No, we can't change it. It's already set.
But you would advocate playing 2 games, starting conference?
No, I just said that to say something. I mean, you're going to get the Big 12 calling me now saying we don't want to do that. It was just a joke. The schedule said it is what it is. We're playing all good teams. This is a strong conference. Top 5 teams, playoff teams, I don't know, but top 20, pretty good conference, and so it'll be a challenge each week. But the other thing is, we talk about it, I joke about it, but we have plans, and we will make plans, I should say, to win this game. We understand who we're playing, we understand experience, we understand what they've done, we know all that. But we will have a plan in place, and we'll expect our players to work hard and come together as a group and go play on the road and win the football game. I mean, that's what's expected. And it starts with me, and it works its way all the way down.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about Seth Jacobs? I hate to use the word overachieving because there's so much hard work that goes into what he is accomplishing, but just talk about him a little bit.
He is overachieving at his age as a freshman. He's playing way too many plays. He's over 70 plays a game, and I have concerns about that. I mentioned that a month ago. But he's overachieving in that area, but he's very, very intelligent. He's in the right place at the right time on most plays. So he doesn't have to play as fast as other players because his savviness and his mental ability allows him to be in the right spot, and he can overcome maybe not being a 4.6 guy. And he's been a pleasant surprise for us, came from halfway across the world in wine country, and does everything we ask him to do. He's a typical prototype player that we're looking for. Doesn't show up on any list. He's going to make the Dean's Honor Roll. He's going to graduate in 4 years, so on and so forth. I mean, he's just a good kid. He makes my job enjoyable.
Coach, we asked some of your players this. Do you enjoy away games? Do you enjoy road trips?
Road trips in college I enjoyed. Road trips now aren't as fun. I would rather play here in front of our people and our crowd. But there's a challenge when you go on the road. You go 70 strong. The Big 12 allows us to take 70 players, and we take 70, and the total party is around 115 with all of us, and we go in, and we have to get on the road and play well, and we try to beat however many people they have in their stadium. It's us versus them. That part I enjoy.
What's your least favorite part about going on the road?
Travel during this time of year, and it's only a 38-minute flight, so it's not that big a deal. But travel's a wear and tear on your body, and it's just like when you guys travel, and you get back at 2 or 3 in the morning, and your editor wants you to do something the next day, and you got to get up and work, and it catches up to you. Well, that's what happens to the players and the coaches. The travel kind of wears on your body throughout the season.
What would be your favorite part? One of the guys told us gummy bears was the best part.
Well, they all eat all the food, and I don't eat all that stuff. I take that purple pill, it keeps your stomach calmed down. They eat gummy bears and ice cream bars and all the things that, they look forward to, but I pass on all that. I'm old. What's my favorite part? Friday nights or Friday afternoons, we go to the stadium with the players, and it's just us. We walk around, and we talk about the game plan. We come together and huddle up on midfield, and I get a chance to spend a few minutes with them and talk to them about who they are, the game, and it's a close-knit group of people that have paid a price, and I enjoy that part with them. For me, that would be my favorite part on a road trip.
I'm not going to ask you, Mike, whether they're going to be back this week, because Stevens and Lampkin, it's been talked about for a long time. But
should have brought a quarter to flip.
But can you talk about what the impact might be when you do get them back? What will that impact be on your defense when you get them back out there?
Well, it's 2 more guys that don't have to play 70 plays. You can split it now. Veteran players, if they're healthy, they can catch 45, and the other guys can catch 25, and it just gives us a little depth. If a guy gets nicked up, then you can put a player in that's had at least a little playing experience, like 18. He's played a little bit now. When he went in early in the year, 3 weeks ago or whenever, he just, you saw him get run by and double moved and so on and so forth. Well, now, if he were to go in and play 25 plays, you'd feel a little more comfortable than we would have a month ago. And so that's really what you get, is you get 2 guys that don't have to play an additional 40 plays in a game.
What is 18's name?
Ramon? Numbers are easier for me. I know their names. My 10-year-old asked me the same question. You're thinking like my 10-year-old, Bill. No, but 18's easier for me. In practice, I call him the long-haired guy. Great kid, works his butt off and playing high school quarterback last year, and now he's out there in the big time. So
Devin Davis is down here on game days, and he's wearing a jersey and a pair of jeans. Does that still eat at you to look and see an all-conference tackle?
For him, it does. He would make us a much different offense right now. He would handle the left side, and he's tough to deal with. You're looking at a guy at 6'6", 320, and bench press 485 pounds. But I hate it for him because he wants to play, but it hadn't happened for him right now. And I'm hoping that he turns into a Kai Staley, a guy that eventually works through it, and his pain can diminish somewhat and can come out and play for him.
Are there some indications he might kind of be able to accomplish
structurally, and I could be speaking somewhat out of place. By no means am I able to diagnose what happened to him, but structurally he's fine. He just has to work through the fatigue and some pain that he's faced with in that knee.
Did Dax take a step forward last game?
He did in the first half, and in the third quarter, he had a couple bad throws, and then they played 3 down and played cover 2, and they played a hole player in the middle of the field, and we struggled throwing the ball, and we struggled running the ball, which forced us to throw the ball, and there's not many good passes versus 8 people dropping in a zone, and that's really what happened.
Coach, can you talk about Kip Smith? He's got a kind of interesting journey here, but not playing well for you. How's he improved and his journey here?
Well, he obviously walked on here as a kicker and ended up being a punter. So it was unusual, but we're certainly glad that we had him. He's developed into a good player. He's improved this season, and he's been the best pooch punter, that Australian punt, that we've had here. And he's done a good job of that. He did it Saturday with us catching the ball on the 1 yard line. So he's another example of really what we think college football is about. Here's a guy that says, I want to play football. I come from Colorado. I'm going to walk on here. I'm going to take that chance. He ends up making it. And then the good news is we get to put him on scholarship. It's awesome. So he gets his school paid for. He helps us. We help him. He's going to graduate. He's got to play football. So it's a good story.
You guys averaged like 8 yards of play on first down, first 3 drives. What happened? Why didn't that get sustained?
We had a good plan. Coaches had good plans, and we had a philosophy, and then that we got behind, and we started to change just a little bit, which we can't do. We know that going in, but that's extremely difficult to not try to play catch up a little bit, because at one point you look, and I think there were 6 minutes to go in the first quarter, and we were behind 14-0. So you start thinking 14, 28, 32. You start adding up, they're going to score a bunch of points. So you say, okay, what's the chance of us scoring anything remotely close to that? Because ultimately we have to win the game. Whether we lose 55-10 or we lose 31-30, it still goes in a loss column. So we changed a little bit, and that hurt us, in my opinion. And I listened to the calls. I was good with everything because I felt the same need to. They're going to score. I mean, and then all of a sudden, I didn't know we were going to stop them for 2.5 quarters. So that's the answer to your question.
When you changed, was it the third drive where you guys are completing first down pass of 11, and then a 2 yard run, and then a first down or a second down 14 yards, 16 yards, 12 yards? Is that when it changed, or did it change after that drive? Like,
I have no chance of understanding what you just asked me. I mean, you wrote it down, and you're reading it. I'm not. So
the play calling philosophy. It's 14-0. You guys come out right after they score, and you get a first. It's a pass, 14-yard pass or 11-yard pass, and then you get another one. It's a 14-yard completion on first down, then a 12-yard completion on first down.
The drive that we scored on, hit the reverse to Shep.
That was the interception. That was the one that ended on the interception. Did you start relying on the pass too much on that drive, or did it change after
Was it
that?
an interception?
Yeah.
But yeah, we did then if he threw an interception. I see where you're going, probably not. A lot of it was based on pregame prepping and then how they lined up, just like every other game. And so I'm just going to guess what they thought is we're ahead 14-0. We're probably going to score 35 points here. So here's what we're going to play because you're not going to be able to catch us. So they changed a little bit what they did.
They started adjusting to what you guys were doing.
Well, based on where the game was. When we played at TCU and they got ahead by 3 touchdowns, they just played everybody back and said good luck to you and played the percentages. And, I mean, that's kind of what happens. Managing the game, I guess, would be a better term.
Like you can say lack of depth and inexperience, but is it still strange for you not to be pushing 20 points or more on the scoreboard for 2 straight games?
Sure. And again, we're maturing a little bit. We're young, but those guys are developing, and so they need to start playing better. We're into, what is it, eighth game now, and they need to start playing better. And the concern I have now with our team is depth, is them becoming fatigued. But overall, they're getting better. They need to start playing better. And I don't talk to them about youth, and I don't talk to them about depth. I talked to them about youth a month ago. I talk to them now about, I don't care how old you are, you're in the 8th game of the year. You need to grow up, okay? So, but it is unusual for us around here to look at a scoreboard and not have 2 digits lit up for most of the game.
You mentioned how the early deficits have kind of put you guys on the hole offensively and kind of changed things. How do you overcome that and not give up those early points?
Well, I'm not sure. It's just interesting. At TCU, we struggled, and they hit big plays. Here, we didn't struggle early. They hit big plays on us. So if you look at it and you say, okay, defensively, we got to find a way to get a couple 3-and-outs in the first quarter, and offensively, we need to have some sort of consistency where we're moving the chains and then punch it in the end zone and quit kicking stinking field goals. That will help. Now, how we accomplish that, hadn't got that far yet, but we're working on it.
What's an acceptable win total for this team right now? by the end of the
I
season?
wouldn't even. It's not fair for me to comment on that. You know, we need to try to find a way to win Saturday, and that's really, you know, I've always said this. We have a plan to go on the field and win every weekend, and as long as we put forth the effort and those guys pay the price to do it, I'm okay with that. And then the rest of it just has to take care of itself, the character of the program, what we have, who we are, all that over the long term. And it's worked for us for 10 years. I said this last week, and I'll say it again. Nobody wants to win, nobody more than me, period. But there's other things that we have to do along with that to make sure that that happens. You know, it's just like Jawan Seals. We told Jawan Seals twice in the fourth quarter, 28 broke, I think it's the number, 26, Washington, whatever his number is, ran the wrong route. Well, he was at 60 plays. He's a true freshman. He's tired. Ran the wrong route. He should have never been in that situation. Seals should have played 40 and he should have played 20. But he made a poor decision and affected our team. Those things disappoint me, not necessarily that he ran the wrong route.
Are you expecting Seals to make the trip? And play
Yes,
Saturday?
sure is. He's made a poor decision. He's paid his price. Put him on the Stairmaster for 3 days for 2 hours a day, and he didn't get to play in the game. So
He can play more plays this week.
he's actually dehydrated, and so we're trying to get his fluid back up. But that's the way it is.
He had the Jamie Blatnick experience the last 3 or 4 days.
You know, better than that, Bill, he had the Josh Cooper. Have you heard that story? You guys remember that story? You know, Josh Cooper got had a can of beer down here during two-a-days when he was redshirting. That's back when we brought freshmen in, and, you know, they just hanging out, you know. So he's like, hey, it's after curfew. I'm in college. I'm hitting the strip, you know. And I think he got somebody about 2 or 3 days later saw it in the paper, like, you know, not nowadays things come up on y'all's phone. And as soon as it comes up, I mean, it's online. Well, back then it was just like in the paper, real small, and so somebody brought it and showed it to me or something, and I called him in, and he was like, so we put him on the Stairmaster in two-a-days, in his pads, and in his helmet. I forgot about it. I was calling plays. So like 5 days later, he comes into my office, and he looked like he had pneumonia, the flu, whatever. I'm not going to say anything else because I don't want people to think, I mean, being disrespectful, but he looked bad. And he sat down. I said, hey, Coop, what's up? He goes, can I get off the Stairmaster? And I thought, you need another day. And I forgot. I think it was 5 or 6 days. I don't know, Robert, y'all remember? Like a week. And he went from weighing 184 to like 169. And finally I said, you know what? You're getting one more day, son. I knew you needed 8 days. Get out of here. But you know what? From that point on, he did great.
So he was just on the Stairmaster like all day during practice.
Yeah, as soon as we finish stretch and we start period 1, he goes on until we're done. So it's 2 hours and 10 minutes. It's 100 degrees in your heat. It's awesome.
Blatnick got an entire preseason camp for that.
How much did he get? I don't know. This conversation's gone really bad. Both kids have done very well. Let's just state that both kids have done very well. So.
No, but the Stairmaster can say, you don't have to say a word. That Stairmaster says a lot.
Well, all those other guys that are practicing, they kind of look over there every once in a while, and so that helps. You know, it's like if you have 2 children and you discipline one and the other watches, it works a lot better on the second one than it does the first one. So anyway. All right, anything else? All right.